Honourable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Thou members of Parliament and Ministers of State with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served. That good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us the vision of our country, fair as it might be, country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people, and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Item number 4, correction of votes and proceedings. Now, members, we have the votes and proceedings of Friday, the 23rd of July, 2021. Shall we go through them quickly? Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Yes, Honourable Member for Norton.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I tried to catch your attention at page 8. Item number 7II. If the table office could insert of member of the Board of Governors, of before governors. And Mr. Speaker, item number 7XI, the former majority leader of this House. His name has been captured wrongly. It should be Honorable Abraham, or say Edu, Abraham, and not Ibrahim, as has been stated here, Mr. Speaker. So the I should be an A rather, Abraham, or say Edu.
Very well. Honourable Member for Northern, we are now considering the proceedings of Friday, the 23rd July, 2021. Because we sat yesterday too, we'll do the two together, right? Yeah, so let's continue with the Friday proceedings. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Honourable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of Friday, the 23rd of July, 2021, is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honourable members, we also have the proceedings, votes and proceedings for yesterday, Monday, 26 July 2021. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Yes, another member for Norton.
Most grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, at page 8, item number 7, the member of the Board of Governors. So off is omitted if it can be inserted respectfully, Mr. Speaker. And the former majority leader, item 7XI, it should be the Honorable Abraham Osei Edu, not Ibrahim, as has been captured here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Yes, Honourable Member for.
Honourable Speaker, please, item 3, VI, and XI, the positions or roles of the officials from the Ministry of Health. Only one has been captured, that is IV, the Director of Infrastructure at the Ministry of Health, but the others, no positions have been stated, consistent with our practice, if it can be amended. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The Secretariat will review and correct if any. Honourable members, subject to the corrections already adopted, the proceedings of Monday, 26 July 2021, is hereby adopted as a true record of the proceedings. Honourable members, we'll vary the order of business and go to official business, presentation of papers. So, at the commencement of public business, presentation of papers by the Minister for National Security. Yes, Honourable Leader.
Speaker, before coming there, I'm sorry to take us back, but the list of absentees for yesterday's sitting, I realized that a couple of people were here who unfortunately have been marked as absent. And I refer to the Honorable Obi Amwa, who was here yesterday, and Speaker, you were sitting. Yesterday Obi Amwa was here. The Honorable Michael Chribefi, the Honorable Augustine Collins in team. These three people, Speaker, were here. The Honorable Kennedy Osei-Nyakun was here. Then Abena Osei-Asare, Mrs. was also here. I'm surprised all these have been marked as absent. I will maybe liaise with the clerk at table.
Well, we have adopted the report already. I direct this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I direct the table office to effect the corrections as of there. Yes. Are you laying the report on behalf of the
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The Minister for National Security
very well, you
is engaged in some assignment now, and I'll crave the indulgence of my colleagues to present the paper on his behalf. That is in respect of 8A, item 8A.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Speaker, I have no objection at all. I had the privilege to participate in the present launching this document, and therefore, if it is being laid for our purposes, the better. Thank you.
Very well. Item 8A.
National Security Strategy, a secure and prosperous Ghana with regional, continental, and global reach and influence.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee of Defense and Interior to consider and report. 8BI by the Majority Leader.
Report of the Auditor General on the Public Account of Ghana, Public Boards, Corporations, and other statutory institutions for the year ended 31st December 2017.
The report is duly presented. Is referred to the Public Accounts Committee to consider and report. II.
Report of the Auditor General on the Public Accounts of Ghana, Ministries, Departments, and other agencies, MDAs, for the financial year ended 31st December 2017.
The report is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Public Accounts to consider and report. Item III.
Report of the Auditor General on the statement of foreign exchange receipts and payment of the Bank of Ghana for the year ended 31st December 2017.
Report is duly presented. Referred to the Committee on Public Accounts to consider and report. Item IV.
Report of the Auditor General on the Public Accounts of Ghana Consolidated Fund for the year ended 31st December 2017.
The report is duly presented. Is referred to the Public Accounts Committee to consider and report. Item C by the Minister for Finance. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Speaker, if I may present this paper. Mr. Speaker, if the Minister for Health may be allowed to present the paper in respect of 8C Roman number 1 on behalf of the Minister of Finance.
Yes. Very well. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Request for waiver of import duty, import get fund, import get and levy, export NHIL, import VAT, exim levy, and special levy amounting to the Ghana cedi equivalent of 27,161,066 euros and 38 cents on materials and equipment required for the construction of the Tema, Nkwanza, and Doma hospitals, and the rebuilding the central medical stores and ancillary facilities.
The report is duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Finance to consider the report. We will proceed to item number M. Item number M is the chairman of the Appointments Committee. I think the ranking member can present the report. Yes.
Ninth report of the Appointment Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination of Mr. Kisi Ejabin for the appointment as Special Prosecutor.
The report is duly presented for distribution to members. Okay, now N by the chairman. Yes, leader. Item N by the chairman of the Committee on Finance. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Speaker, if I may present the report from the Finance Committee. The ranking member is also unavailable. So I would want to present the committee's report.
Very well. Yes, leader.
Speaker, yes, we want to encourage leader to be laying reports for chairman of committees. That one, you must demonstrate that you have some aspiration that I know quietly, and that you are in charge of committees in this house. Mr. Speaker, he can't be laying papers for chairman of committee. Ministers, sometimes in your role as minister, will understand. But chairman of committees, they must be here to lay their report. But for today, I'm just serving you notice that when it comes to committee's report, we want chairman to take ownership of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Minister. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, the chairman of the committee was here with us. He just exited. And I think he himself was unsure that this report has been listed. So he even asked me, because there was something for him to do. And I said to him that he could exit to go and do that assignment. Unknown to us, that is the two of us, we didn't see that item N existed on the order paper for him to present the paper. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm doing so in my capacity as a member of the committee and not as the majority leader. and the minority leader should not be over-exaggerating my strength in these matters.
Very well. Yes.
Report of the Finance Committee on guidelines for considering and approving requests for the grant of waiver of import duties, import VAT, GEF and levy, and import NHIS, ECOWAS levy, AU levy, EXIM levy on plant, machinery and equipment, or part as well as corporate tax for 5 years of operations being tax incentives to support implementation of One District, One Factory, IDF program.
A report is duly presented for distribution to members. Is the chairman of the Committee of Health here? Yes, leader.
Speaker, it may appear minor. The honorable member from Myang is not in the chamber, but as I go through item D, in one of the consideration of the votes and proceedings, the honorable member from Myang raised an important issue, and I want us to go back to it. When you see D, by the Minister for Communication and Digitalization, the speaker table should go back to the Webster Dictionary. You can also use your phones. When the honorable member from Myang raised it, we didn't give him attention. We have to, because there is no word like digitalization in any IT nomenclature. So the honorable member from Myang was right. You can say digitization. But when you say digitalization,
I think you're picking too soon. Now I'm laying reports. If you wish to for us to discuss those, we'll come back to it. Can we continue and conclude? I intended to call on the chairman of the Committee on Health. Yes, I'll defer. Yes, leader. Honorable leader, I give you the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I thought we were going back to continue from 8C Roman number 2.
Well, at the pre-meeting, we thought we'll defer that, but I will go back to them. Let me finish with.
We'll continue from there.
Unless there's nobody here to lay the report.
Yes, Speaker, that is what I want to do.
Very well.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Office of the Head of Civil Service for the year 2020.
Please, item O, 8O. Report of the Committee on Health.
Mr. Speaker, the chairman of the Committee on Health is on his way. So we can stand that one down and deal with item D, HD, and then proceed downwards.
Very well. Item G, where the Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. Can we take all of them together? Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I will do so on behalf of the Minister for Communication and Digitalization in respect of item 8D, both Roman numbers 1 and 2.
Oh, I was taking the G before I come up to D. So let me finish with the Minister who is present, the digitalization, local government and decentralization. I was saying that rather than taking them one by one, we can put them all together if that's possible. Yes, so item G, Honorable Minister for Local Government.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Nanumba South District Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ahafo Ano South East District Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Setre Umeru District Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Asante Akim North Municipal Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Katamanso Municipal Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Weja Bawe Municipal Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Pru West District Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the North Gonja District Assembly for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Senate East District Assembly for the year 2020.
The reports are duly presented. They are referred to the Committee on Local Government to consider and report. Honorable Minister for Local Government, I think you may also have to do the H and I, which was originally listed to be done by the regional minister. Yes, H.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council for the year 2020.
The report is duly presented, is referred to the Committee on Local Governance for consideration and report. I.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Office of the Savannah Regional Coordinating Council for the year 2020.
The report is duly presented, is referred to the Committee on Local Governance to consider and report. Now, Honorable Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, you wish to present item D on behalf of the Minister for Communications, right?
That is so, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Item D, I.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications for the year 2020.
The reports are duly presented. I refer to the Committee on Communications to consider and report. Is the Minister of Defense ready to lay his own? Yes, so item E.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Defense for the year 2020.
The report is duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Defense and Interior to consider and report. The last one is F, by the Minister for Gender. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if the House indulge me, I want to present the paper on behalf of the Minister.
Very well.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection for the year 2020.
The report is duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Gender to consider and report. Honourable members, at this juncture, very well. Item J, Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture. Yes, Honorable Minister for.
The Speaker, the Minister for Tourism is also not able to be here because of some assignment that he's attending to. So if I've been told by the House, I would want to present these documents on his behalf.
Very well.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of Ghana, Museums and Monuments Board for the year 2020.
The reports are duly presented. I refer to the Committee on Tourism to consider and report. Item K, by the Minister for Education. Yes, Honorable
Speaker, J2. J Roman number 2.
K.
J Roman number 2.
We've just finished J, 1 and 2. We finished J 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
So we are now on K, I, and II.
The Speaker, the Minister for Health would handle K for the Minister of Education.
Very well. Honorable Minister for Health.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration for the year 2020. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Mampong Technical College, College of Education for the year 2020.
The reports are duly presented. Refer to the Committee on Education to consider and report. Item L, by the Minister for Youth and Sports.
The Speaker, the Minister for Defense will present the paper on behalf of the Minister for Youth and Sports.
Yes.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Youth and Sports for the year 2020.
The report is duly presented. Refer to the Committee on Youth and Sports to consider and report. There's one on the order paper addendum. It's presentation and first reading of bills. Yes, Honorable.
The Speaker, as I said, the Minister is engaged on some other assignments. So I want to present this paper on behalf of the Minister for National Security, as advertised on the order paper addendum.
Very well.
An act to establish the National Center for the Coordination of Early Warning and Response Mechanism to assist the ECOWAS Commission in the timely identification of emerging crises in the West African sub-region and the implementation of an improved crisis response mechanism and to provide for related matters.
The bill is duly presented. It's referred to the Committee on Culture and Tourism to consider and report. Sorry, the earlier referral is hereby revoked. It's referred to the Committee on Defense and Interior and Foreign Affairs. Honourable members, at this juncture, the House will be suspended and will hold a joint caucus meeting.
Will be allowed to ask a supplementary question. Please, just bear with me. So we will start with we are starting with Minister for Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Okuyitra Blakwa is the person listed, and the other one is Francis Shevia Kojo Susu. Is Kojo Susu here? Mr. Speaker, the two of them are not here. So if we can allow some time for them perhaps to come to the House. So we can then start with the urgent questions in the name of the Honorable Kwame Gapwe, and then Jujoli Gapwe, the same person. 5A and B. Let's
urgent question.
Let's start with it. If the person is the Honorable member is there. Is there? Okay. So Mr. Speaker, let's start with it, because the two of them are not here.
So the defense minister is also not around.
Okay, we'll start.
Defense is here. Defense. So the first question stands the name of a member for Kita, Honorable Kwame Yuzuri Gapi. Honorable, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Defense the urgent safety measures being put in place to protect the journalist who recorded military brutality in war and his family. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, adequate safety measures have been put in place by the security agencies of Ghana to ensure the safety of the journalist and his entire family, as well as all citizens living in the Ward Township and the surrounding communities. Mr. Speaker, operational measures and military strategies are the tools that ensure that security and intelligence agencies are able to help the country remain safe. It is extremely difficult and not prudent to openly discuss these tools and strategies adapted to keep citizens safe. So, Speaker, these measures are operational matters, and revealing them publicly will jeopardize the safety of the individual in particular and his family in general. I am therefore assuring the general public that all individuals involved in the incidents that occurred in war are safe and should go about with their daily activities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Based on what the Defense Minister have mentioned, that these security issues need not to be discussed in the domain of public, I accepted that, but as members of parliament, I think if committee of whole, he can brief us as members of parliament, not the public, it will be in good direction. Thank you very much.
Very well. So we move to question number 228. Yes, leader.
Speaker, with your leave, we will have to move to question 159 instead. Some consultation that have gone on, and we want to dispense of that before.
Leader, respectfully, the defense minister is scheduled to answer another question, so I want him to answer that question before we, yes. So we move to question number 228. That stands in the name for member for Sege, Honorable Christian Kolite. Honorable, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Defense the reasons for the deployment of the army to Sege constituency, and when will the soldiers leave Sege to their stations?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, a detachment of soldiers made up of 1 officer and 12 men were deployed at Sege on camp-like duties from the 24th of March to 30th of June 2021 as a result of disturbances over salt mining issues within the community. Mr. Speaker, the detachment has since been withdrawn from Sege after the communal clashes at the salt mining site had subsided. Mr. Speaker, they were deployed to support civil authority as part of camp-like duties, and currently a detachment of 1 officer and 12 men are on camp-like patrols within the Dominion, the Wenya to Ada enclave. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I couldn't find where the Minister read his questions, answers from, but then I could use what he has just said to follow up. Okay, I did not get that. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I really wonder what kind of crisis the Minister is talking about. I never heard of that, for which we will need military intervention immediately as he claimed. If at all, I don't know whether we have used the police to resolve and cool it before we had to fall on the military. Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the military has been deployed in Bimbla constituency since 1994, and they are still there on Operation Bongo, depending on the threats. In fact, for Chirupone, ever since the conflict happened last year, for a whole year, the military is deployed in Chirupone because of the conflict. What I said to you is that there was communal violence, and the military were called in by civil authority to assist. After 1 month, they have left the place. So it is possible that the military can be called to a place to assist, bring calm, and once the calm is achieved, they leave the place, and that's what they have done. What I've also just told you is that the military are on calm-like duties, currently doing what we call a dominion to that enclave. So they move around. They are not more stationed in your constituency like they did before. But they were in your constituency because there were communal violence over salt mining issues. And they do that always. Once there is a problem that the police believe that is beyond them, they'll call the military, and after a few weeks or months, depending on how it is, they leave the place. And that's exactly what the military did in your area. So yes, it is possible that the military can be deployed in your constituency, depending on the threat level that is being assessed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want an assurance from the Minister to let my people feel free that there will not be any military brutalities in the constituency.
Minister, the member wants assurance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm unable to give assurance to him because if there is communal violence today that leads to the loss of life, they may call back the military. So the assurance is actually from you and from the people. Once they're peaceful, I don't think the military are needed in the area. So that assurance we should bring should come from you. But I want to say that there will not be any brutality and there cannot be any brutality. And if there are brutalities, you should let me know. We investigate it and punish the people. So give your assurance to your people that if there are brutalities that are as a result of military brutalities, let me know. We'll investigate it. If someone is found guilty, we'll punish the people. But to assure you that we cannot deploy the military in any part of your constituency, I will not be able to do that, because if there are communal violence that leads to loss of lives and property, they may call the military to support the civil authority or civil police. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Oyomi, please, you don't have, I said earlier on that we are not going to give opportunity for other members to ask any supplementary question, please. So, Honorable Minister, we are so grateful to you for attending upon the House to answer questions from members. Thank you very much. You are discharged. Yes. Can you go back to the Minister for Justice and Attorney General? I can now see the... Yes, Honorable Member for Northton.
Most grateful.
Ask your question, please.
I'm most grateful, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice the status of the pursuit of justice in the following murder cases: Ahmed Hussein Swale, the Honorable J.B. Dankwa Edu, Honorable Eko Hayford, and Professor Emmanuel Bennett. I'm grateful.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, I'm in the position to speak to progress that has been made in respect of the cases specified by the honorable member. I begin with the case involving the murder of Ahmed Hussein Swale. The Speaker, this is a matter being investigated by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. Indeed, no docket has been built and presented to the Office of Attorney General for prosecution since the deceased was killed on 6 January 2019. The Attorney General is thus not seized of the matter. However, on being appointed Attorney General Minister for Justice, the Inspector General of Police paid a courtesy call on me on 29 March 2021. Being concerned about the failure to resolve this, as well as other homicide cases, I inquired about the state of investigations into same. Indeed, a report was submitted to me, Mr. Speaker. In the exercise of my discretion as the principal legal advisor to the government, I will share with this honorable House parts of the report that was given to me. Other parts I will take up for the sake of not compromising the investigations. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the relevant facts are that following the murder of the deceased, Devela Ahmed Hussein Swale, investigations by the police commenced immediately. 2 empty shells of 9 by 199 millimeters pistol, I believe, were found on the ground, while 3 other empty shells and 3 spent pellets of 9 by 19 millimeters ammunition were also found in the car. An iPhone 7 Plus mobile phone and a Huawei smartphone belonging to the deceased were also found and retrieved. On 17 January 2019, an autopsy was performed on the body of the deceased by Dr. Osei Owusofiye, a pathologist at the police hospital. After the body had identified by paternal uncle of the deceased, XW1 Elijah Mama, in the presence of the police, the pathologist gave an interim cause of death as A, hemorrhagic shock, severe chest injury, and C, gunshot at close range. On 22nd January 2019, the exhibits retrieved from the scene were sent to the police forensic science laboratory for ballistic examination. In the course of investigations, 2 key eyewitnesses, namely Asarbidi Ako, age 28, and Abdul Rahman Hawa, were contacted. They gave vivid descriptions of the 2 suspects. Consequently, a request was made to the Department of Geomatic Engineering of the Department of University of Science and Technology for the following analysis to be made. A, the use of satellite imagery. B, sketching of the assailants from a description of the witnesses. Use of telecommunications networks, that's C. Based on the recommendations of the Department of Geomatic Engineering, the two eyewitnesses were presented before the forensic artists on 27 January 2019. After listening and recording a description of the assailants, the forensic artists sketched two artistic images. The witnesses finally confirmed the sketched images as a perfect resemblance of the assailants. Mr. Speaker, upon intelligence, however, the suspects, Edward Gaston Kofi Goka, Musa Idrisu alias Yapono, Francis Osepoku alias 666, and Abdul Rashid Mezongo alias Kakalika were arrested for investigations. The four suspects were taken through the investigation processes, but the eyewitnesses could not identify them. The suspects were subsequently granted police inquiry bail and are assisting in investigations. Statements were taken from certain citizens of the country who all denied any involvement in the murder. Investigation in the United States of America. The mobile phones of the seized persons were sent to the United States of America for unlocking and extraction of information by the information technology experts in that country. On 17 July 2020, a request letter to that effect was sent to the U.S. Embassy. On 11th August 2020, the phones were sent to the U.S. through the American Embassy in Accra. In February, March 2021, this year, the American Regional Security Officer successfully handed over the two iPhone 7 Plus together with a Huawei smartphone belonging to a murdered investigative journalist, Ahmed Swali, together with external drive containing the data extracted from the phone's investigator. The Speaker, huge volumes of data comprising millions of documents, videos, audios, text and WhatsApp messages have been analyzed by a team for the Homicide and Cybercrime Unit. Investigations on the matter still continue. Progress is being made. The Speaker, that is all I can respectfully say about the matter. Then, the murder of J.B. Dankwa Edu. The Speaker, again, I will keep the facts for press of time. On investigations led to the arrest of the first accused who admitted killing the MP. He gave several statements to the police describing what led to the death of the deceased. He also led the police to the crime scene, where he demonstrated to them how the whole incident occurred. The second accused also admitted same upon his arrest. A post-mortem examination conducted by a pathologist, Dr. Lawrence Eduse, gave the cause of death as exsanguination and multiple stab injuries on the neck and chest, which he described as unnatural. Based on the above, both accused persons have been charged with conspiracy to rob, contrary to Section 23(1) and 149 of the Criminal Offences Act as 29. The first accused, Daniel Asedu, aka Sezi Dondon, has also been charged with the murder of J.B. Dankwa Edu, Honorable J.B. Dankwa Edu, contrary to Section 46 of Act 29. In addition to being charged with substantive offense of robbery, contrary to Section 149 of Act 29. Mr. Speaker, the trial of the accused persons, the murder of the Honorable J.B. Dankwa Edu, is ongoing in the High Court, Accra, presided over by Her Ladyship Justice Lydia Osemafo. The case was pending before the same court, then presided over by Justice George Brady, who was later on transferred to Ho. The bill of indictment was initially filed on 16 February 2017. Nolle prosequi was entered on 29 May 2017, effecting a discontinuance of the charges. This became imperative as there was a need to conduct further investigations to unravel the identity of the specific perpetrator, as well as those believed to be the mastermind of the murder. On 25 January 2019, the bill of indictments was refiled, and the accused were committed to stand trial in the High Court. While the case was pending before the previous presiding judge, the first accused was referred to a psychiatric hospital for assessment of his fitness to stand trial. This process took a long while. The assessment was eventually completed, and the first accused was declared fit to stand trial on 9th January 2020. Unfortunately, another incident halted the hope of progress in the matter as the trial judge was transferred to Ho A new judge was appointed, and not long afterwards, the nation was hit with the COVID-19 pandemic. File of cases was put on hold. It was not until 9 February 2021 that a trial proceeded before a new judge. Prosecution has so far called 3 witnesses. The 3rd witness is on the witness stand as is being subject to further cross-examination. The next court date was actually today. The cross-examination continued. The matter has since been adjourned to October 2021 as a result of the impending legal vacation. The Speaker, may I move on to the matter of Honorable Echo Hayford. It is a case involving suspects Jibo Ali, Sadu Ali, Umaru Sandu, Alasan Abubakar, Abu Fulani, Nazaru Fadalu Nash, as well as the deceased person Muhammad. The Speaker, I think I would like to state a brief fact for this matter. On 9th October 2020, at about 1 a.m., the police received information of an armed robbery attack between Abiazi Dominasi and Biazi on the Makisim Fosu Highway. The police proceeded to the site and found that armed men had blocked the main road and robbed and murdered a number of commuters of their money and various personal effects. There were a number of vehicles parked on the road, including an MPP branded Mitsubishi pickup with registration number JN7822/2019, which had glass stains and was radioed with several bullets. Investigations revealed that the vehicle was occupied by Honorable Echo Kwanzaa Hayford, Member of Parliament for Fansiman constituency, and some members of his campaign team. The team was returning to Makisim after a campaign tour in the Tar Bosum electoral area, when they were caught up in the armed robbery attack. Information gathered at the scene revealed that the armed robbers, numbering about 6, wearing nose masks, hoods and wielding AK-47 assault rifles, and 2 pump-action guns, blocked the said road and robbed passengers traveling at night. When the MP and his team got to the scene, the driver attempted to drive through the scene, but the armed men shot at the vehicle. A bullet hit the handle of the driver, whilst another bullet also deflated one of the rear tires, causing the vehicle to land into a ditch. The armed men approached the vehicle and ordered the MP and other occupants of the car or the vehicle to get out and lie on the ground. One of the armed men pointed a gun at a member of the team and asked if he was the MP, Honorable Echo Kwanzaa Hayford. The armed man took his mobile phone from him and demanded money. The Honorable Member of Parliament deceased informed them that he had used up all his money on his campaign tour and offered to give them money if they would follow him to his house in Makisim. One of the armed men then shot at the MP and they left to attack other commuters. A member of the MP's campaign team managed to call the police on his phone, but by the time the police got to the scene, the armed men had left. The MP was rushed to the Makisim Roman Catholic Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The driver and other members of the team were conveyed to the Willibar and Cape Coast hospitals for treatment. Investigations led to the police tracing the MP Samsung A50 mobile phone to Abuabu No. 2 in Kumasi. They found the phone with one Nazaru Fudalu Nash, who stated that he bought a mobile phone from Alasan Abubakar, who is a mobile phone repairer for 780 Ghana cedis. When Alasan was arrested, he informed the police that he also bought a mobile phone from one Mohammed for 650 Ghana cedis. The police could, however, not trace the said Mohammed, even though they obtained detailed information about him. On 10th May 2021, a robbery attack similar to the one that claimed the MP's life took place at Herman Akokwaso on the Obuasi-Kumasi Road in the Ashanti region. The police were called to the scene, and when they arrived at the scene, one of the armed men pointed a gun at the driver and signaled him to stop, thinking that they were one of the private vehicles. The police opened fire and the armed man was instantly killed. 3 of his accomplices, Jibo Ali, Sadu Ali, and Umaru Sandu, were arrested whilst others managed to escape. The armed man who was killed was identified as Mohammed, who had sold the Honorable Kwanzaa Hayford's mobile phone to Alasan Abubakar. In the course of interrogation, Jibo Ali informed the police that 3 of them, together with the deceased Mohammed, were involved in a robbery that led to the murder of the MP at Abiazi Dominasi on the Makisim Fosu Highway on October 9, 2020. On 13 July 2021, just about 2 weeks ago, the police conducted an identification parade involving all the 3 suspects, Jibo Ali, Sado Ali, and Umaru Sando. A number of the victims, including some of the occupants of late MP's vehicle, identified the 3 suspects as the armed men who robbed them on 9th October 2020. Investigations have revealed that the MP was shot by Mohammed, who is now deceased. The suspects, who are in custody on account of having been convicted of an earlier offense, have been arraigned before court on provisional charges of conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit robbery, and robbery in relation to the events that led to the death of Honorable Kwanzaa Hayford, whilst investigations continue. Following the conclusion of investigations, a docket will be brought and the bill of indictment will be prepared by the Attorney General. The Speaker, the last murder case is the murder of Professor Emmanuel Bennett. The brief facts are also that on 10th September 2020, the accused purposefully aided James Sana Womba, now deceased, to intentionally cause the death of Professor Emmanuel Bennett by unlawful harm at his residence at Ajingano in the Greater Accra region, after they had robbed him. The body of the deceased was found on 12 September 2020 by his sister, Ambassador Elizabeth Ifwa Bennett, and others after they broke the lock into his residence to gain access. They have not heard from him since the night of September 10th, 2020. In the course of investigation, 3 suspects were arrested. The first suspect, James Sana Womba, who is believed to have strangled the deceased to death, died in custody on 17th October 2020. After investigations were concluded, the docket was forwarded to the Office of Attorney 3rd February 2021. The advice was dispatched promptly on 17 February 2021, recommending the prosecution of the suspects. On 1st May 2021, a bill of indictment was filed to commence the prosecution of the second suspect, Ebenezer Kwayisi. The third suspect, Opambo Eja Bedu Kwanzaa, was discharged after a study of the docket revealed that he was not at the scene of the crime when the offense was committed, although he was invited by James Womba to assist him to rob the deceased. Opambo Eja Bedu Kwanzaa, originally the third suspect, is now a witness to the prosecution. Ebenezer Kwayisi has been charged with abetment of murder, contrary to sections 1 and 46 of Act 29. His covenantal proceedings were held at the Nation District Court, which committed him to stand trial at the High Court on 21st June 2021. The prosecution is waiting for the notice of arraignment at the High Court for the trial of the accused to proceed. The accused has been remanded into prison custody. Speaker, that will be the answer for the questions.
Very well. Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will exhaust all 3 supplementary questions. But before doing so, since this is a House of Records, if you permit me to draw attention, Mr. Speaker, that the dates provided at page 19 of our order paper, the Honorable Minister's response. Ahmed Hussein Swale was killed on the 16th of January 2019, not on the 6th. So it ought to be corrected. It should be 16th of January. And Mr. Speaker, also at page 22 of the order paper, paragraph 11, the case has been adjourned to the 12th, 13th, and 14th of July. It cannot be 2015. I want to believe that it should be 2021 and not 2015. And finally, at page 26, Mr. Speaker, paragraph 4, under trial, the High Court committed him to the High Court for trial on 21st June. We have here 202. I want to believe it should be 2021. So if our records will reflect the correct date. The Speaker, my first supplementary question is on the investigation so far on the murder of Ahmed Hussein Swale, the slain investigative journalist who belonged to the Tiger Eye Investigations Group. Mr. Speaker, listening to the facts as presented by the distinguished Attorney General, he presents names that bear no semblance to a recent claim by the Honorable Chairman of the Committee on Defense and Interior, the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong, published on Ghana Web the 24th of May 2021, in which the Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee is said to have revealed the actual killer of Ahmed Hussein Swale. He gives the name as one Ansu Jiabo, a resident in Kumasi. He made a revelation on Edikra TV in New York. The publication reveals that the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong says that he was briefed extensively by the police, the Ghana Police Service, and that the suspect, Ansu Jiabo, has not been picked up because anytime the police make a move, informants within the Ghana Police Service give him a tip-off and he flees. Is this new information that the Honorable Kennedy Ejapong has put out, is the Honorable Attorney General aware of this? And if he is, how come the facts that have been presented, there is absolutely no reference to this? Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the Majority Leader is taking all the attention of the Attorney General, so I don't know if he's hearing me. This new development from the Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, is the Attorney General aware? And I'm glad that the Attorney General says that he had in recent times a meeting with the IGP. So is the Honorable Attorney General aware of these facts, and what is his response to this?
The Speaker, first to respond to the specific date on which Ahmed Swale was killed. Yes, the Speaker, the date stated in my written answer today. House was correct since January 2019. And then also the date of committal of the accused persons in the Professor Bene trial, Bene murder to trial. Yes, there was a commission of one at the end of 2021. So I agree. The Speaker, my information is based on investigations that have been conducted by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. And I rely on official information from the Ghana Police Service. The Speaker, I am not aware of any statement that has been made by any honorable member of this House anywhere apart from to the Ghana Police Service. And indeed, I deal with only official information. I believe that if the honorable member has more information, perhaps that could be made available to the Criminal Investigations Department. And as I said, the investigations continue in the matter. I'm very grateful.
Very well. Yes, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, my second supplementary question is on the unfortunate and tragic murder of our colleague, the Honorable J.B. Dankwa Edu. It has taken the state more than 5 years to bring the perpetrators to justice. The Attorney General has talked about COVID in his response. COVID is just about a year. I'm not too sure that the COVID explanation will suffice.
So, honorable member, please,
Can the Attorney General tell this House that this slow pace in seeking justice, can he assure this House that this slow pace will cease and that we will begin to see some expedition in bringing the perpetrators of this heinous crime to justice? because it's been more than 5 years and we cannot continue at this pace, Mr. Speaker. An assurance from the Attorney General.
Yes, Honorable Minister, assurance.
Mr. Speaker, it is inaccurate for the honourable member to contend that the reason assigned for the failure to conclude the prosecution of the matter is due to the COVID crisis. I stated that the matter was discontinued pursuant to the entry of a novel prosecution by the Attorney General in 2017, and that is because it became necessary to unravel the identity of the specific perpetrators of the offence as well as the masterminds of the offence. Subsequently, the trial was recommenced on 25th January 2019 through the filing of a fresh bill of indictment. And then the matter was played by difficulties. The presiding judge, previous presiding judge, Justice Boedi, was transferred to the High. First and foremost, there was the need to refer the accused person for psychiatric evaluation as a result of certain developments in court. It took almost 1 year for the psychiatric analysis to be concluded. And so that really pushed the trial to about the end of 2019. Then early 2020, the COVID struck. And after that, the presiding judge was transferred. It took another period of time for a fresh presiding judge to be seized of the matter. And Mr. Speaker, just to assure my good friend, honourable member, that the matter is indeed proceeding at, we call it, lightning speed. The trial recommenced actually on 3rd February 2021. And so far, 3 out of 9 prosecution witnesses have been called. And I indicated to you that even today, the trial continued in court. And as a result of the impending legal vacation, the matter has been adjourned to October. So going by the speed at which we proceeding, I'm sure after the legal vacation, the matter will be concluded before the next legal vacation, which will be in June, which will be in July next year. So definitely the matter will be concluded in the life of the next legal year. I'm very sure.
Yes. Yes, Honourable Member, your last supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the assurance from the Honourable Attorney General. My last question is from page 25 of the Honourable Minister's response relating to the murder of Professor Emmanuel Bennett, who was my very, very good friend. May his soul rest in perfect peace. The Attorney General tells this House that the first suspect, James Nana Wamba, who is believed to have strangled the deceased to death, died in custody on 17 October 2020. Is the Honorable Attorney General able to tell this House the cause of death? Has that matter been investigated? How did the state ensure that this suspect was protected? Are we sure that the circumstances surrounding his death are natural circumstances? Because this is the first suspect in this high-profile murder case. Can the Honorable Attorney General give us an indication on the cause of death?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am not too sure where the Honourable Member obtains information that the first suspect, James Anabomba, died of unnatural causes. The information I have is that the first suspect died in custody. Beyond that, I have no further information as to whether his cause of death. Yes, so I have no further information as to whether his cause of death was unnatural or natural. I have no further information on his cause of death. The suspect, the first suspect, died in custody, and the trial will proceed. As we said, we're charging the other accused person for abetment of the crime of murder.
Honourable members, we move to question number 1. No, I've already said I'm not going to admit any supplementary question from any member of the House other than the questioner. I made this position clear before. Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with you that you want to limit the number of questions. But these are constituency-specific questions. It's something that is a public interest question. So if you can take 1 or 2 more, then we'll call it off. So Mr. Speaker, we are pleading.
Yes,
Speaker, for today, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 questions. It's because of this that the Speaker issued these directives at the very outset. We're all here. So, midstream to amend the directive is the Speaker, a difficulty. However, the Speaker, just so that nobody will say that, the Attorney General was running away from something, because I know some people are resourced to be engaging in such polemics. So, the Speaker, I would urge that you allow the honourable member, the honourable Roxanne Dafiamoko, one space at least to ask.
Yes, honourable member for South Dye.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, this is a very technical matter, and I refer to the account from the Honourable Attorney General, the Learned Attorney General, contained on page 26 of the order paper. Mr. Speaker, under trial, the Learned Attorney General, Mr. Speaker, under trial, the Learned Attorney General is telling the House that even though evidence available to investigators point to the fact that one Opambo Ejabudu Nkwansa was invited by the suspect who had actually died in custody, who they believe actually committed the crime. They have discharged him to serve as prosecution witness. Mr. Speaker, my question is this. Under our Criminal Offences Act, an evidence such as this is a ground for charging somebody with abetment and conspiracy. So even though the recommendation from the investigators to the Attorney General is for...
Honourable member, you may ask the question.
Mr. Speaker, I'm laying the proper foundation for the question. It's a very technical matter. Even though the investigators have been commended for prosecution, the Attorney General, even though faced with this evidence, has decided not to charge this person with conspiracy, but rather to make him prosecution witness.
So what is the question?
And so I want to find out why would the Attorney General do that? Why?
Anyway, Honourable Attorney General, if you are minded to.
Yes, Speaker, with all respect, you don't think my good friend, the honourable member, actually listened carefully to my narration of the facts. My narration of the facts are that on 10th September 2020, the accused purposefully aided James Anawomba, now deceased. The accused definitely is not Opambo Eja Bedu Nkwasa. So the accused person purposely aided James Anawomba to intentionally cause the death of Professor Emmanuel Yabene by unlawful harm. The Speaker, Opambo Eja Bedu Nkwasa was treated as a prosecution witness because he was not even at the scene. It is saying here, no, it matters a lot. It says the first suspect, Opambo Eja Bedu, was discharged after a study of the docket revealed that he was not at the scene of the crime when the offense was committed, although he was invited by James Womba to assist him to rob the deceased. The Speaker, the point is that no, I think you are under.
Honourable Minister, please address the chair.
No, the Speaker, I'm very sorry. So, the Speaker, even though there had been an earlier invitation by the accused person for Opambo to assist him in the commission of the crime, that invitation was not carried out. So, in actual fact, there was no accused if there's no accused, definitely there's no crime. The Speaker, the charge is especially for murder. And the point that is being made by the investigations is that Opango Eja Beju Nkwansa never appeared at the crime. So he's only being used as a prosecution witness so that he can assist with the unraveling of further facts, if you may. The Speaker, that's the answer.
Yes, honorable members, we move to question number 160 at page 4, which stands in the name of the member for Medina, Honorable Francis Xavier Kojosusu. Honorable, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the Attorney General and Minister of Justice steps being taken to amend our laws to abolish death penalty as recommended by the Constitutional Review Commission in the year 2010.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, the answer to the question respectfully is that the death penalty in Ghana has constitutional and statutory underpinnings in terms of the creation of offences for which the penalty is death. These offences include high treason, murder, genocide, piracy, organized crime group activity, as well as smuggling of gold. The Speaker, the offence of high treason is created by Article 3 of the Constitution 1992. The penalty of death is stipulated in the provision for its commission. Further, Article 19, Clause 2, Paragraph A provides a clue that the framers of the Constitution were cognizant of the existence of the statute books of offences punishable by death other than high treason. The provision in setting out the procedure for a trial of a certain class of offences stipulates, and I respectfully quote, a person charged with a criminal offence shall A, in the case of an offence other than high treason or treason, the punishment for which is death or imprisonment for life, be tried by a judge and jury. End of quote. The Speaker, high treason is not tried by a judge and jury. In my respectful view, the provision in Article 19, Clause 2, Paragraph A, on basis of its clear wording, therefore suggests that the framers of the Constitution contemplated the existence of offences for which the punishment will be death or life imprisonment, and that the procedure for trial of such offences shall be by a judge and jury. It is my further view that an abolition of the death penalty will involve an amendment of Articles 3, Clause 3, and 19, Clause 2, as well as Paragraph A, Articles 3, Clause 3, and 19, Clause 2, Paragraph A of the Constitution, as well as provisions of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 at 29. An amendment of Act 29 is a duty of Parliament and not the Executive. However, an amendment of Articles 3, Clause 3, 19, Clause 2, Paragraph A of the Constitution must be effected through a recourse to the procedure stipulated in Article 290 of the Constitution, since the provisions are entrenched. The Speaker, I submit once again that the processes to trigger an amendment of an entrenched provision of the Constitution, including the provisions of the death penalty, are the prerogative of Parliament. The Executive may not be involved. Article 290, Clause 2 makes this quite clear. The work of the Constitution Review Commission. The Speaker, the Constitution Review Commission was set up in 2010, January 2010, pursuant to the Constitution Review Commission of Inquiry Instrument 2010, CI 64, to examine the operation of the Constitution of Ghana and come up with proposals for amendment of relevant provisions in order to boost the cohesion and development of the nation. Following the completion of work of the Constitution Review Commission, the Constitution Review Implementation Committee was also established in September 2012. September 2016, to implement the government white paper on the recommendations of the Constitution Review Commission. The Constitution Review Implementation Committee proposed 40 amendments of entrenched provisions, with 2 additional consequential amendments and transitional provisions, as well as 50 non-entrenched proposed amendments and 6 additional clauses. Towards achieving this, the Constitution Review Implementation Committee, before the expiry of its mandate on 31st December 2016, presented to the then Attorney General, Mrs. Marita, to appear upon a Constitution Amendment Entrenched Provisions Bill and the Constitution Amendment Non-Entrenched Provisions Bill. Clause 2 of the Constitution Amendment Entrenched Provisions Bill provides for the abolition of the death penalty. Effectively, this would have replaced the death penalty with imprisonment for life without parole. Given the limited time, inadequate consultation, as well as the requirement of a referendum under Article 290 of the Constitution Amendment Entrenched Provisions Bill did not go through the processes constitutionally required for its passage. With a change in government, the then Attorney General, Ms. Gloria Kufu, established the Constitution Amendment Review Committee on 17th October 2018, chaired by my humble self, to review the work of the Constitution Review Implementation Committee and to identify practical ways to facilitate the implementation of the proposed amendments. Mr. Speaker, it was our observation that the manner in which the erstwhile Constitution Review Implementation Committee had proposed 40 amendments of entrenched provisions with 2 additional consequential amendments and transitional provisions into one bill to be voted upon at one referendum was unfeasible, unwieldy, and not in national interest. The intended exercise could actually be interpreted as an attempt to force the hands of the electorate to make such an important decision without reference to the substantially diverse nature of the amendments. This approach was inherently unconstitutional, as the free choice of the electorate, which is an essential aspect of the referendum exercise, would have been defeated. A yes or no vote was acceptable in the case of the promulgation of a new constitution, or in the case of a vote for one amendment, one particular provision, but not in the case of amendment of over 40 and unrelated provisions of a constitution. There are 2 different exercises. To roll up proposed and obviously unrelated provisions into one composite vote of yes or no would, in the circumstances, amount to negating the legitimate choice of the people of Ghana. The committee set up by the former Attorney General and chaired by my humble self, as indicated, thus reviewed the Constitution Amendment Entrenched Provisions Bill and the Constitution Amendment Non-Entrenched Provisions Bill, particularly, as well as other relevant documents. The committee, in identifying practical ways to facilitate the implementation of the proposed amendments, noted that the proposed amendments needed to be prioritized, with reference to those which were of utmost public interest and importance, and those which could be amended within the shortest possible time. The abolition of the death penalty was not one of them. Given that the Constitution was not amended to abolish the death penalty, the amendment of Section 49 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29 and Sections 294 and 295 of the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act 1960 on the death penalty have also not been effected and are still on the statute books. It must be noted that since 17 July 1983, the death penalty has never been carried out, although several accused persons have been sentenced to death. To date, there are about 163 convicts on death row who are treated as convicts serving life imprisonment. It is remarkable to note that between 1982 and 1992, 400 death sentences were passed, out of which 77 executions were carried out. The Speaker, that is the answer to the question. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Honourable Speaker, I have one supplementary question. Very well. So, given the fact that since 1993, we have not been able to carry out any such death sentences, and given the fact that an amendment of various provisions in Act 29 would assist us in achieving nearly 95% of abolition of death penalty from our statute books, what would your office do in support of a private member's bill that has been adopted or that has been admitted by the Speaker for the amendment of Act 29 with the intention of achieving at least 95% abolition of death penalty from our statute books?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Speaker, respectfully, I think the question clearly seems to elicit my opinion. My personal opinion is that the death penalty, in a way, serves very deterrent purposes, and I think this view I share is not peculiar to myself. It's actually the view that has been held by a number of attorneys general in the past. The Speaker, is also important to state that the death penalty has not actually been banned or prohibited under international law. Indeed, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which entered into force in 1976, has said that the right to life and the right not to be arbitrarily deprived of life are very essential, and it obliges states which have not abolished the death penalty to take steps to do so and to maintain same only in relation to very serious crimes. Mr. Speaker, and as international law, the maintenance of the death penalty in respect of very serious offences, especially in relation to offences committed by persons of the age of majority, is acceptable in my respectful view. And I think that in this country, indeed, the death penalty is not even exercised in relation to minors. And my view is that, well, a private member's bill is what it is. I think this Honorable House has the powers to enact the relevant laws to amend any specific provisions of the existing law. And already there's precedent to that effect. I heard of the amendment that's being carried out in relation to a certain specific matter last week ago. So I leave it to the Honorable House. My respect.
Well. Honorable Minister, we want to thank you very much for attending upon the House to answer questions. We are very grateful, and you are hereby discharged. Yes, we move to question number 94, page 2 on today's order paper. And the question stands the name of a member for Central Tongue, Honorable Alexander Roosevelt Otuji. Honorable member, if you are around, you may.
Mr. Speaker, may I have his authority to seek your leave to ask the question. He's not well.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health what plans the Ministry has for the refurbishment of the dilapidated health infrastructure of the District Hospital at Adjournment. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister, hold on a bit. Honorable Majority Whip, any issue?
Speaker, if you may indulge me, I see an urgent question also directed to the Minister of Health, and that is B5D. It's related to the Minister of Health, and I thought we could take that one.
Honorable Kwame Jodulu Gapi. Honorable Member, you may ask your question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Health what urgent steps are being taken to address the highly contagious COVID-19 Delta variant that have been detected in the country. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Delta variant is one of many variants of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. Other key variants are the Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. The Delta variant of the SARS-CoV-2 was first detected in Ghana in May 2021, when a random sample of COVID-19 positive samples were taken through genomic sequencing. Genomic sequencing has been a key component of Ghana's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In July 2021, we further confirmed the circulation of the Delta variant within the Ghanaian population. The Delta variant is known to be more infectious and hence likely to result in an increase in the number of cases in general and severe and critical cases as a consequence. The increase in cases of severe illness relates more to the high infectivity of the variant. As a ministry, the measures in place for preventing the transmission of COVID-19 have remained the same, irrespective of the strain. This is because the mode of spread for the virus is the same, irrespective of the strain. The time-tested measures are appropriate face mask use, wearing the face mask at all times when in public, hand hygiene, effective hand washing or the use of an alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and maintaining social distancing. To this end, we are strengthening all our existing measures as follows. Risk communication and social mobilization for COVID-19. Mobilization of opinion leaders, religious leaders, traditional leaders, key influencers, etc. Putting in place contextualized risk communication messages for locations such as schools, workplaces, etc. Establish and enforce adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols where appropriate. Surveillance. Strengthening contact tracing, quarantine, and isolation. Strengthening surveillance at all points of entry, including landing beaches. Laboratory. Scaling up of the testing capacity for COVID-19. Case management. Continuous strengthening of the capacity for case management, including oxygen supply. Public education on the need to visit health facilities when unwell for testing and appropriate treatment. Vaccination. Increasing its capacity to handle different brands of vaccines, including for those that require ultra-cold storage facilities. Revision of the vaccine deployment plan in line with current COVID-19 situation, that is prioritizing hotspots, regions or districts, highly populated areas, and at-risk groups, persons 60 years and above, and those with underlying medical conditions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member for Italian, any supplementary question?
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, in fact, research has shown that the Delta variant is about 50% more contagious than Alpha variant, and then Alpha variant also itself is 50% more contagious than the original coronavirus. And the spread of this highly contagious Delta variant, COVID-19, is causing infection and hospitalization to rise again in the country. Based on the answer provided by the Honourable Minister, I would like to know, in terms of surveillance, what kind of surveillance are they doing? Is it passive or active surveillance are they doing? Strengthening contact tracing, why is it happening? And which areas is it happening? I would like to know from the Honourable Minister.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, contact tracing is ongoing across the country, especially in Accra and Kumasi. When we find a positive person, we do the same thing as we were doing in the past and try to see where he has contacted, and we try to do mop-up and ramping up to actually test people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member, any further
Thank
question?
you, Honourable Speaker. Under the laboratory, the Honourable Minister made mention scaling up of testing capacity for COVID-19. I would like to know where are we now and where are we going, because there is no data supporting this. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
The Speaker, when we got the first case of COVID in March 2020, we had only 2 testing centers in the country, the Gucci and KCCR. Mr. Speaker, as I speak, we have 43 different sites that belong to the state where people can test across the country. Almost all regional hospitals, and a number of these hospitals now have PCR test kits that they are using. Again, we have licensed private facilities that are also doing some tests, especially in Accra and Kumasi. So we indeed have actually expanded our testing capacity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, your last supplementary question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to further a request from the Honorable Minister. In the entry point, or in the answer, he provided entry points where they are doing testing, and Ghana Airport is Wakulipa International Airport is one of the entry points that they are doing testing. I would like to find from the Honorable Minister how many companies are doing testing in the airport, Wakulipa International Airport, and why infants are also being charged $150.
Honorable Minister, no. It's unrelated to the actual question. So I'm not admitting this particular question.
You mentioned entry points in the answer. Honorable Speaker, you mentioned testing is happening in the entry point, and airports happen to be one of the entry points. That is why I'm promised my answer on that. He provided this answer, not me. The ministry provided that answer in its clearly here. On scaling up testing capacity at COVID-19 and entry points is there. Some straightening the all points of entry, including landing beaches. I'm not the one who's saying it.
Mr. Speaker, you've given a directive, and I thought the member would take a cue. The orders provide in Order 69. As soon as the question is answered in the House, any member, beginning with the member who asked the question, may, without notice, ask a supplementary question for further elucidation on any matter of fact regarding which the answer has been given. But a supplementary question must not be used to introduce a matter not included in the original question. It's not the answer. You are quoting the answer. It should not be included. It should not go outside the original question. That is what our orders provide. Don't litigate the matter with the Speaker. The Speaker has given you a directive.
Yes, minority deputy leader.
The Speaker, what the leader read is correct. But the answer given by the minister, the member will ask supplementary questions based on the answer provided. And that is exactly what the member is doing. That he mentioned testing sites. So he is asking questions based on the testing site. So, members will allow.
Yes, minority deputy leader, respectfully, my ruling has already been taken. My friend, sorry, let's move on. So we move to question number 94 on today's order paper, which stands the name of Central Tongue. So my brother, you may ask the question on his behalf.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on my earlier submission to you to ask the question and to ask the Minister for Health what plans the ministry has for the refurbishment of the dilapidated health infrastructure of the district hospital at Adjournment. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, currently the Adjournment District Hospital has not been captured in our 2021 plans and budget for any current refurbishment. We will, however, do an assessment based on the request and evaluate it for consideration budget in the ensuing year's budget. Our ability to implement this, however, will largely depend on the quantum of budgetary allocation to the ministry in subsequent years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Were you also giving the orders to ask supplementary questions?
Mr. Speaker, indeed yes. Mr. Speaker, indeed yes. I have the authority to so do. Mr. Speaker,
very well.
My simplest supplementary question is, the Minister says to the House that pursuant to this question, it will take steps to capture it for future program. Would that happen this year?
Minister, will that happen this year?
Mr. Speaker, it can only happen this on the availability of funding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, that will be all for me.
Very well. Thank you very much. So we move to question number 95. That stands the name of a member for Kentampon North, Honorable Joseph Kwame Kuma. Honorable, if you are around, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Health if there are plans to upgrade the Kintampo Municipal Hospital to a teaching hospital.
Yes, Mr. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions with regards to upgrading the Kintampo Municipal Hospital to a teaching hospital. A committee has been set up to come up with the modalities towards the upgrade of the Kintampo Municipal Hospital to a teaching hospital. Mr. Speaker, we will update the House when the committee presents its report and roadmap towards the proposed implementation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I have a supplementary question. I want to thank the Minister for these plans for the Kintampo Municipal Hospital because of the situation where it is situated in the nation. I want to ask if the committee so set up to help the time frame within which they will be finishing with their report. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the committee is actually working, and we are expecting to receive their report in the next 2 months. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any further question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask that Kintampo Municipal Hospital is always overwhelmed when it comes to the accident cases along that stretch. Is the Minister, by way of reference, thinking of an interim accident emergency plan for the hospital till the main hospital is built is considered in future?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we haven't had any plans towards that. Until we receive the report, we wouldn't know exactly what to put in there. So we will, based on the recommendations from the report, that is what to determine the next roadmap, and that is what we will use to try to resolve the situation my colleague is talking about. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you too.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, we move to question number 108, page 3. That stands the name of a member for German North, Frederick Yao Ahinkwa. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Health when actual construction of a 60-bed facility commenced at the Sampa Government Hospital, as captured in both the 2009 and 2020 budget statement and economic policy of government, will be completed.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Yes, 2009. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that the construction of the 60-bed facility was earmarked under the Sino Hydro project. Unfortunately, this funding source could not materialize. Therefore, we are now exploring other funding sources to fund this project. The moment funding is secured, Mr. Speaker, the necessary project planning and implementation arrangements will start towards the smooth implementation of the project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask the Minister, is there any timeline for the exploration of the new source of funding for the project?
Minister, any timelines?
Minister, we don't have timelines. I'm only relying on the budgetary allocations and how the Minister of Finance will allocate funding for us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. You have, okay, good.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This project is dear to
the heart of my constituents. So I want an assurance from the minister whether the project will see the light of the day. Thank you.
Minister, no, don't answer the question. No. That whether the project will see the light of the day. Oh. Anyway, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think I can give an assurance. But I will want to state the fact that I come from that area as well. Kintampo Hospital was one of the areas I visited first when I became Minister for Health. I was instrumental in trying to get it scheduled for the Sano Hydro funding. Unfortunately, it couldn't materialize. And we are looking for funding. I can't assure, but any time that funding is available, we will try and rehabilitate Kintampo Hospital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honorable members, we move to question number 109, page 3 on today's paper, other paper. That stands the name of Shai Osudoku, Member of Parliament, Honorable Linda Oyenewa Akwele Oku. Honorable.
Obenewa, sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Obenewa
Yes.
Akwele Oku, Honorable Member.
Most grateful, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Health if there are plans to build Chiefs compound in the following communities in the Shai Osudoku constituency to provide access to health care: Lubuse, Gigedoku, Agbekocheko, Gozakope, and Kebuse.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, currently the areas listed in the question have not been captured in our 2021 plans and budgets for any construction of CHIPS compounds. We will, however, do an assessment based on the request and evaluate them individually for consideration budgeting in the ensuing year's budgets. Our ability to implement this, again, will largely depend on the quantum of budgetary allocation to the ministry in subsequent years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Obenewa, any further?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me commend the Speaker, the Minister, for his response. But from the Minister's answer to my question, he indicated that this communities listed has not been captured in the 2021 budgetary allocation for Chiefs compound, meaning there are no future plans for this community. I want to find out from the Minister, when will the communities be captured to enable them to access to quality health care? Thank you.
Honorable Minister, when will these communities be captured?
Mr. Speaker, I just said I will do an assessment. We have a policy in capturing CHIP compounds. What we plan to do is the fact that every electoral area should have at least one CHIP compound. And when I talk about assessment, apart from population and distance from other facilities, we also look at the electoral area, whether they have some or not at all. And that is what will determine our capture or not capturing all or any of these towns or villages my colleague has mentioned. So not on structural assessment, it will be difficult for me to even begin to tell time and things like that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Inadequate funds is a major challenge to the healthcare facilities. I want to find out from the Minister whether, apart from the budgetary allocation, is there other avenues that can be considered? Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Honorable Speaker, apart from budgetary allocation, GOG funding, we might only be lucky to see a philanthropist who donates for us to come and put a CHIP compound there. Or through communities initiative, the ministry can support again with budgetary allocations. So apart from these, the other sources are borrowing for bigger, large ones, not definitely cheap compounds. So rely on budgetary allocations, which includes some part of the oil money, the alpha allocations we have. These are the sources of funding we can utilize to do cheap compounds in the area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Obeloa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to also remind the Minister of the universal health coverage in the agenda for jobs creation 2028 to 2021. In view of this, Mr. Speaker, I want to ensure this. I want to kindly find out from the Minister if he can ensure these communities are duly captured in the 2022 budget with adequate funds. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister, being reminded of universal coverage.
Honorable Speaker, we are very mindful of universal health coverage. And we try to make sure that we have facilities closer to people, affordable access, and what have you. Our assessment remained, I said earlier, distances from the existing facilities. The villages we are talking about may be very close to even some facilities elsewhere. Going around the country, you can have two towns very close to each other. Middle one cheap compound just one, the other side wants it. Like my colleague in Weta and your girls. They want hospitals in all the towns around. Quite well, you know. So we take cognizance of these, and after our assessment, my sister, we will look at what we can do for you. We are very mindful of getting universal health coverage, but we now have facilities that can cater for a lot of people, and with Agenda 111 soon coming on board, I believe even if you don't get a cheap compound, you might get the resources closer to where you live. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, was your reference an invitation to the leader to also ask a question?
Honorable Speaker, please no, please no, please no. Honorable Speaker, I withdraw, please no.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. He mentioned my name or make reference to me, but I won't ask questions based on that. But, Mr. Speaker, can the minister consider a loan facility that can take care of a number of cheap compounds? For instance, for one district hospital, you don't need less than $20 million, more than that. But that $20 million can build more than 50 cheap compounds. Mr. Speaker, would the minister consider taking a facility so that as many as possible cheap compounds will be provided in our electoral areas?
Yes, Minister, will you consider a facility for cheap compounds?
Honorable Chair, that is considerable, but Parliament approves these facilities for us to use. So if after we hitting 72% debt GDP ratio, if the House will also consider still adding on to our debts, the Minister will willingly consider using the facility for cheap compounds.
Leader, I gave you that opportunity.
The minister
is supposed to answer so many questions.
The minister didn't take account of the import of my question. What I'm saying is that the cost of building one hospital could provide more than 50 cheap compounds, which is cost saving, and it is cover a greater population. That is the import of my question. It's not about adding on, but who to borrow? You will borrowing.
Very well. We move to question number 110, which stands in the name of Honorable Adama Suleimana, a member for T. Honorable, may I ask your question?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. But to state that my constituency is time. Thank you. I rise to ask the Minister for Health.
So, T-A-I-N.
Yes.
It's pronounced time.
Yes.
Not T.
Not T.
Okay, good. Good.
Yes.
Go on.
I rise to ask the Minister for Health when the administration block of the self-nursing and midwifery training college be completed.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, our records show that the administration block of the self-nursing and midwifery training college was awarded and implemented in 2016 at the Bono Ahafo Regional Coordinating Council with funding by Get Fund. Further checks also revealed that the project has been suspended due to erratic flow of funds. The Ministry will liaise with the college to assess the level of completion, ascertain how much is required to complete, and liaise with the Get Fund and the Bono Regional Coordinating Council to see to the completion of the project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister states, the funding source is important, and he agrees with me. But I want to find out whether the Minister will recheck the funding source of the project. He stated that his record should, but I want to find out whether you recheck the funding source. Because my information in 2016, I was the Chief Executive before the project was awarded. I know the funding source was NHIA, so I want to find out whether the Minister will recheck the funding source because it's critical for the completion of the project.
Yes, Minister, we will check the funding source.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have checked and rechecked. I have visited SEPA, the school. I queried the uncompleted building I saw in 2018. On my return, I picked some of the facilities that were commenced with Get Fund projects, and I actually wrote to the Minister for Education to support health, to source continuous funding from Get Fund to complete these projects. I couldn't get any good results out of that. That is why I'm saying that we're going to liaise with the Bono Coordinating Council and Get Fund to see how best we can source funding again to do it. It is not one of the NHI funding projects at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Honorable, are you okay? Or you still want to ask a question? Okay. The last one.
Minister, as you are aware, it's your region, and I want to find out whether you can give us timelines for the completion, as the students are really suffering. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, any timelines?
Yes, because these are exogenous factors and activities, things that you don't control. Giving timelines become very difficult. I'm going to liaise with the Bono Coordinating Council. I'm going to liaise with Get Fund. I wouldn't know what their parameters are like. So for me to get deadlines will be difficult. I'll try. You know I come from that area. We will work on it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Thank you very much. So we move to question number 136. That stands the name of a member for Nadoli Kaleo, Honorable Anthony Suman. Honorable, you may ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Health the status of the construction of the project to remodel and expand Japan Health Center, thus upgrading it to a polyclinic. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Upper West Region has received a number of polyclinics in the previous years. The Charipong Health Center was initiated in 2012 to renovate existing facility and expansion for maternity and observation ward. Mr. Speaker, the current progress of work is at 40%. Completion and the following works have been completed: roofing, plastering, ceiling, floor, tiling, doors and windows frames fixed with burglar proofing. The project stalled in 2016 due to lack of funds. The Ministry is seriously exploring funding to complete the project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Anthony. Yes, any further questions?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. It's very much appreciated. But on the original schedule
of the project is now 8 years overdue completion. And from your own response, from 2016 till now, that means it has stalled for over 5 years. What is the source of funding for this project? And have you made it a priority, said that you have budgeted for it in your capex from 2016 till now, your annual budgets, and you have not been considered with funding to complete the project?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've made several efforts to even try to find the source of funding. The indication I'm getting was from IGF of the facility, a very small facility with this big project. Now, over the last 4 years or so, funding for health infrastructure has been quite minimal, and we have several of them dotted across the country that are inherited. So we scale up and do 1, 2 here, there. We do 1, 2 here, there. That is why I'm saying that we are seriously looking for funding. This is very close to seeing light, and I believe immediately we pick some good money, we will get there and get the work done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honorable Minister be kind enough to let me know if the project has provisions for equipment to equip the maternity ward and the observation ward?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'll say no for the moment.
Your final question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Finally, in the interim, if we are finding difficulties in sourcing funding for the project that has gotten to this stage, are there any alternatives other than relying on GOG or probably the IGF that you refer to, so that the place can be completed, or so that it could be optimized, other than leaving it in the state that it has been for the past 8 years?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, whatever I'll say is still GOG. There are just one big source, the GOG funding. For facilities, we get limited resources from health insurance from time to time, even if it's approved by the chamber, by Parliament. I'll check on all these things. That's why I'm saying we are seriously looking for funding and see how best we can get it done. From time to time, if we get funding outside GOG, like government funding or contractor bringing money for us to approve to do the project, that will also be considered. So if in the pipeline we find somebody who will bring money for us to borrow to complete that project, that will be considered. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, we move to question number 137. That stands in the name of Honorable Dr. Zanato Ajima Lawrence, member for Kote Kole. Honorable, this is your time.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Health when the Adabraka Polyclinic is to be upgraded to a district hospital.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the ministry is aware that the population of Kote Kole is growing, and as part of our policy, it will require a much wider service package than the current health facility is providing. However, the provision of the Greater Accra Regional Hospital within the catchment area is to complement the services of the Adabraka Polyclinic. In view of this, the said facility has not been programmed for any form of upgrade currently. However, the Minister will engage the Ghana Health Service to assess the facility and advise on the exact needs and appropriate recommendations in terms of upgrade for the facility. This will be planned for in the Ministry's budget in subsequent years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Is the Minister aware that on the 9th of March in 2020, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, on opening of the isolation center in the Polyclinic, committed the government to including the Adabraka Polyclinic as one of the hospitals to be upgraded to a district hospital?
Yes, Minister. Honourable Speaker, I don't think I'm aware of this situation. Thank you. Honourable Member is not aware. Yes. Any further question?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Given the fact that the Minister is not aware, I would like to inquire whether other ministers have the mandate to make such commitments on behalf of the Ministry of Health in the case of such a situation, because other support that was going towards the renovation of the accident and emergency section of the polyclinic was suspended because of the commitment to upgrade it to a district hospital.
Yes, Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I don't think I can exhaust this type of question. There are assemblies who support facilities. Some build and expand hospitals in their areas. So if this commitment is not coming from the health minister and it's coming from the regional minister or the mayor of Accra, that may mean that they may have probably sourced funding and they were planning doing it or probably collaborating with us. And I may have to check on it to see what prompted that commitment from the regional minister. If there's money sitting somewhere, we'll pick it and work on it. But, Mr. Speaker, I've just said in my answer that we'll request Ghana Health Service, which is the agency that owns the facility, to do some quick checks for us to see what specific things that we can put there. Not by way of upgrading it to this hospital, but by way of expanding a little bit to see how complementary it can be to the Ridge Hospital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you very much, Honourable Minister. You've come to answer 8 separate questions. We are very grateful to you for attending upon the House. You are hereby discharged. Yes, ma'am. So, honourable members, we move to question number 144. That stands the name of a member for Nkwanta North, Honourable John Kwabena Bress Oti. Honourable, the Minister is available. You may ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources the steps being taken to fix the problem on the Pastor community water system, which is on the verge of collapse. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Damanko Pasa water supply system, which supplies safe water to Pasa Township and its environs, was completed in March 2011 with consultation, support from Danida and funding from the United Kingdom Department for International Development, DFID, and the Government of Ghana, GOG. Upon completion of the water supply project, it was handed over to the Nkwanta North District Assembly for management by the Water and Sanitation Management Team, WSMT, in accordance with the prevailing policy on rural water management. After a few years of operations, the water supply system broke down and had accumulated electricity bills owed to the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, to the tune of about 400,000 cedis. Mr. Speaker, the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, CWSA, in November 2017 took over the broken down Damanko Pasa water supply system and immediately restored water supply. The CWSA has also settled the indebtedness of the water system to NEDCO in full. However, in view of the excessive damage caused to most of the components, especially the pumps and transmission pipelines, water supply to the Pasa Township has not been as frequent as expected. Mr. Speaker, Cabinet and Parliament have approved a €30 million funding secured from the UK Export Finance, HSBC Bank, and Government of Ghana to construct water supply facilities And the details are found in this 150-point water systems with nano filtration systems and 12 small town pipe water systems in 5 regions: Ashanti, Eastern Volta, Oti, and Greater Accra. The Damanko-Kwasa water system will benefit from the facility. Currently, design activities have started and rehabilitation works will start in December 2021. The CWSA has also employed technical staff to operate the Damanko-Kwasa water system to stabilize water supply to the communities. Mr. Speaker, it is expected that by the end of the year 2022, water supply would improve to meet the water demand of the population of Kwasa and surrounding communities. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Before I proceed with my supplementary question, I want to make a quick correction. I've heard the Honourable Minister pronounce Damanko as Damanko. We know we have Damango and Damanko. This is Damanko in the Oti region. So Damanko. So let's get it right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, the audit report for 2014-2015 had indicted some members of the management board of the water system. I don't know whether you are aware. If you are aware, what have you done about it? What punishment or what have you done about it to serve as a deterrent to others?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm currently not aware, but I'll get the necessary documents to find out what has happened. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Honourable Member.
Okay. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Listening to the Honourable Minister and the answers listed, I will follow up. And I want to let the Minister understand that this is an assurance, because once it is captured and it is clear, the answers are clear that from December this year, the project work will commence. So I will get the Government Assurance Committee to follow up so that to ensure that the assurance or promise made in this order paper is fulfilled. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So we move to question number 184. That stands the name of Honorable Mohammed Ademu Ramadan, a member for Adentan constituency. So, Honorable Minister is available, so we may ask the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources what the Ministry is doing to ensure that the Ghana Water Company extends its services to most residents in the Adentan constituency who have applied for pipe-borne water to their homes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Adentan municipality has a total distribution pipeline length of 220 kilometers. To significantly increase access to water and improve supply in the Adentan constituency, the Ghana Water Company Limited has planned some pipeline improvement works for implementation in Namrahia, Ashie, Amanfrom, Otano, Jeanyo, and Obojo under the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Gamma Sanitation and Water Project, additional financing. In the interim, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Water Company Limited is currently undertaking mains extension works in Adenta, Commandos, and Namrahia areas. These interventions will continue in a progressive manner, using internally generated funds to extend water supply to areas in the municipality which are currently not being served. Mr. Speaker, to connect to GWCL pipe mains, residents have to apply to their respective GWCL district offices to enable the GWCL conduct an inspection to determine the feasibility and as well as the costs of the application. That's the community members' need. If the application is upheld on the basis of operational protocols, an estimate of the new service connection works will be submitted to the applicant. Upon payment of the new service connection fees, the applicant is connected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to thank the Minister for her response. However, to place the situation in proper perspective, the Adenta municipality has a housing stock of over 50,000 houses and has a land size of approximately 930 square kilometers. Therefore, to have a total distribution pipeline length of only 220 kilometers is certainly inadequate. Therefore, as the Minister rightly put it, there are plans to significantly increase and improve upon the supply. My question is, when will the planned improvement works in the named localities commence? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, the solution will come from the additional financing of Ghana and also the IGF of Ghana Water Company Limited. The actual timetable can be supplied to the House later, Mr. Speaker.
A final question?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that there are residents who come together and apply to the Ghana Water Company for service. However, what appears to happen is that Ghana Water Company will give them an estimate of how much it's going to cost them to do the service extension into the respective neighborhoods. My worry is this. It's the mandate of Ghana Water Company to extend water to these localities. My question is, why does Ghana Water Company, or why would they have to bill the residents to extend those services to their neighborhoods and then also bill them to extend service into their homes? You know. Okay,
yes,
so,
Honorable.
Minister says she doesn't understand it.
She understands it. So yeah.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Speaker, I did not say I did not understand. I'm asking you to kindly repeat the question so that I can clearly give you clear answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I'm asking is that it's the mandate of Ghana Water Company to extend service lines into the respective neighborhoods. However, for neighborhoods that water hasn't been extended there yet, the resident associations would come together and then apply for service. When they do, Ghana Water Company ends up billing them for the cost of extending service into their neighborhoods, and then would now bill them individually to connect service lines into their homes. What I'm asking is this. It's the mandate of Ghana Water Company to extend water to our respective neighborhoods. So if the association has come together and Ghana Water is billing them for the cost of bringing the water to their neighborhoods, they must not also bill them to bring water into their homes.
Very well, Honorable Minister. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is, I'll consider it a peculiar case. So I would love to have the situation investigated by Ghana Water. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Leader, do you want to say
Mr. Speaker, let me find out from the Honorable Minister, because it says that if individuals apply to Ghana Water Company, they will do as Ghana Water Company will do assessment and give the bill. If they pay, then they are connected. Does the Ghana Water Company, in giving the cost, add something to it for their profits? Or they just give the cost of the materials to the individual to pay?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll have to look at the detailed billing before I can give an answer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. We move to the last question on today's order paper. That is question number 185. That stands in the name of Honorable Abednego Azuma Bandim, member for Bongo. You, in addition, anyway. So, Honorable, the minister is available. You may ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituency is Bunkurugu. It has been detached from UU. Thank you. I rise to ask the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources when the Nakanduri Township and its environs will benefit from community water projects to address the acute water shortages in Nakanduri and its environs. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, currently there are 4 groundwater-based limited mechanized water systems provided by the District Assembly, World Vision International, and some private individuals serving sections of Nakanduri and its environs. Additionally, under the Northern Region Rural Integrated Project, NORIP, funded through a Canadian grant, 12 boreholes fitted with hand pumps were provided at various locations in the community. However, a number of these water facilities have broken down due to poor management, resulting in inadequate water supply. Furthermore, the CWSA in 2009 took steps to provide Nakanduri and its environs with a small town piped water system under the Northern Region Small Town Water Project, with funding from a Canadian grant. Fortunately, it was unsuccessful due to low yields of the boreholes. Mr. Speaker, to address the acute water situation in Nakanduri, the CWSA will continue to engage the Bumpugu Nyankaduri district and the communities with a view to carrying out technical assessments on the broken down boreholes in a bid to repair them to serve the population. Additionally, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, working through the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, will continue to carry out hydrological studies to determine a suitable and reliable source of water for a small town water system for Nakanduri and its environs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do not have follow-up questions except to appeal to the Minister to, as a matter of urgency, prevail on the Community Water and Sanitation Agency to speed up their speed up carrying out the hydrological studies to determine a suitable place for water for the people of Nakanduri and its environs. They are really suffering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll surely let them do that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for attending upon the House to answer questions from members. I can conclude that you were here early enough and you sat through our proceedings up to this time. We are very grateful. You are hereby discharged. Yes, Honorable Majority Whip.
Speaker, if you may, we can take item 19 on page 12 of today's order paper.
Yes, very well. Item number 19, private members' motion. Honorable members will recall that this particular motion was moved by the Honorable Majority Whip, Honorable Frank Anodompre, and seconded by Honorable Member for South Dai, Honorable Nelson Dafiamapo, on Friday, 16th July 2021, about 2 weeks ago. Debate was, however, deferred. So, honorable members, the motion having been moved and seconded is now for the consideration of the House. So, we may invite members, or you want to move the motion again?
Yeah, if I may remind you, the last time when the motion was moved, I moved the motion as you rightly intimated, and then I reserved the right, and Speaker, you ruled in that direction that we'll reserve the right to speak to the motion at an appropriate time. So, Speaker, if you may, I can lead and begin the debate.
Yes, very well. You can speak to the motion.
Speaker, I thank you for this unique opportunity and to say that this is a very, very important private members' motion, largely supported by both sides of the House. And if you look at key words in the motion is cogent, equitable, and sustainable national development regarding corporate social responsibility. Speaker, if we recall, right from the days of Bradland's Commission, the former Norwegian Prime Minister, who gave a definition of what sustainability is, which has come to stand the test of time and is accepted globally by the UN. In today's narration, sustainability and equitable distribution of resources often run through the blueprint of most developing countries particularly, and is serving as a guiding principle in our quest as a world towards development. Speaker, corporate social responsibility gained a certain heightened attention in literary writings, especially in the 30s and 40s. That was when the world really started writing about it. Then, before then, right from the Roman Empire and then the reign of the crown, it has been discussed in various forms. In England, it's been seen through homes and orphanages and their relationship with society. Then the Crown borrowed this and expanded it to America, the times of colonialism, and it gained roots and moved on and on. Even after the Second World War, it gained tremendous currency and attention globally. That is the world stage. And Speaker, today, right from America, we have what we call the Compliance Commission, which is mandated by law to set a good framework for monitoring and enforcement of corporate social responsibility. Speaker, in England, they've expanded their Corporate Act, or Company Act, which has included concerns for corporate social responsibility and also set out a clear mandate in terms of monitoring and evaluation. Then if you move from England to Europe, Europe put out what they call the Green Paper, which set to start a new revolution towards corporate social responsibility. So at the world stage, there is a conscious effort towards that evolution, conscious effort towards building a new template towards corporate social responsibility. India, Speaker, is reputed to be the first country in the world to have passed a law devoted to corporate social responsibility. That was passed in recent time, 2014. India, as a country, is still regarded as one of the countries who have set the tone. Now, Speaker, when we come to our own country, we have the Directive Principle of State Policy, which set out to make some references to corporate social responsibility. We have the AGI document, we have the Ghana Builders Code, we have the Institute of Chartered, a number of institutions whose documentation make continuous reference to corporate social responsibility. What we don't have is a comprehensive, dedicated law to deal with these concerns. And so as a result of that, we have corporate bodies who react, some knee-jerk reaction, whether it's a complaint from society, some sections of the society, they react to stage one effort or the other to meet the concerns of society. So I think this is very important for us to look at, and it's so critical that we take these matters in strides. If you look at our constitution, if you look at various acts of parliament that exist, we still don't have a devoted act or a devoted law for corporate social responsibility. We have the National Development Planning Commission, which sets out to give a direction in terms of a blueprint of development that a country should follow up. And because we are able to regulate, so as a country, because we are able to regulate, we have been at the discretion of these corporate bodies. As and when they will, then they turn out to engage in one intervention or the other. So I am very convinced and very confident that if, as a parliament, we set out to put up a regulatory mechanism, we'll be able to regulate and harness all the benefits that we should. Because suffice it to say that today, in recent times, Africa has become a center of attraction for a lot of investments. The Chinese are after Africa, Europe, America, and even Russia, who have not been known to be doing a lot of investment in Africa. So, clear, conscious attempts at making investment in Africa, and hence Africa should also prepare itself and get ready to rake in the necessary resources. Speaker, to conclude, if you look at the corporate world in Ghana today, I mean, it's fluid. We have diverse bodies who are registered as corporate bodies, foundation, association, companies limited by guarantee, limited liability company, all and the likes. So it is difficult to give a definite definition of what corporate social responsibility will portend or mean. But I believe that if we set out as a country to find an overarching law to regulate and to rake in the necessary environment benefits, it will go a long way to inure to the benefit of our country. And therefore, I encourage the House to revert its mind to this need and to do the needful by coming out with a good law that will regulate this concern and to push a lot of development in society today. So I thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member for Southern.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to, as it were, add my voice by way of secondment of this motion. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, may I anchor my submission on a very erudite statement from our own leader of the House. Mr. Speaker, if I may contain in private members' bills in Ghana a guide. Mr. Speaker, at page 53 of the guidelines, the leader of the House when he had the opportunity to address some stakeholders concerning this matter. On Thursday, 16th July 2020, he had this to say at paragraph 2, at page 53 of the report. He says, Article 108 does not impose an omnibus prohibition on the initiation and introduction of private members' bills. A private member is perfectly entitled to introduce any legislation which does not have the specific financial implications spelled out in Article 108. Mr. Speaker, a very careful reading of Article 108A would suggest that even with money or financial bills, if the intent is to reduce the size or quantum of taxation, it is permissible to proceed on that bill, even if such a bill does not originate from the President, unquote. Mr. Speaker, may I further urge upon the House the following statement, again from the Leader of the House, contained at page 54 of Private Members' Bills in Ghana, a guide. Mr. Speaker, he says as follows. So, as far back as 1965, the Parliament of Ghana has granted itself the authority to make laws and indeed initiate laws suo motu. It is worth noting that Standing Order 116 on explanatory memoranda to bills stipulates that all bills should be accompanied by explanatory memorandum, which must be signed by the minister or the member introducing the bill. Standing Order 116 clearly recognizes the possibility of a private member introducing legislation. Again, Standing Order 120(2) states that any member or a member may introduce a bill of which he has given notice, unquote. Standing Orders 112 and 113 also mention a private member as a source of legislation in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, unquote. Mr. Speaker, we are sponsoring this bill, and we are fortified by the Constitution. Our position is fortified in the Constitution by the standing orders to move the House that legislation regarding corporate social responsibility be enacted, Mr. Speaker, to, as it were, guide the activities of companies in this regard. Mr. Speaker, may I further refer the House to a research conducted.
Yes, Honorable, hold on. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think for purposes of clarity, we must be sure about what we are doing. This motion that the member is seconding reads that this House passes a law to mainstream and streamline corporate social responsibility in Ghana to ensure a cogent, equitable, and sustainable national development. The import of this motion is to urge this House to pass a law to mainstream and streamline corporate social responsibility. At this stage, we are not dealing with a bill. But you said we are urging this House to pass a bill. That's not the import of this. I just want you to get it right, because you are not dealing with the passage of a bill now. We are being urged to consider it as to how it's going to be done, whether we should have a standalone bill to respond to the imperatives or to amend an existing law. For instance, the Public Financial Management Law, to include a provision that would mainstream and streamline corporate social responsibility, just as, for instance, it deals with the financial impact of a bill that is being introduced. We must be sure of what we are doing. The motion now is urging us to pass a law to mainstream it. But we're not there at the level or the juncture of introducing a bill. It's not a bill that you're speaking to now. So we just have that understanding.
Well, Honorable Member, be guided. Mr. Speaker, indeed, I am. Indeed, the essence of what we are doing, Mr. Speaker, will eventually give birth to a bill. Yes, we may not be there, but it is important that you spice the debate with some of these matters. But be it as it may, I'm guided. Mr. Speaker, may I also refer the House to an academic research on this matter entitled Corporate Responsibility in Ghana, an overview of aspects of the regulatory regime. Mr. Speaker, this was a research undertaken by Dr. Olivia Nkutede and Wolanyo Defo of the Human Resource Department of the University of Ghana Business School. Mr. Speaker, this article was published in an academic journal in May 2015. And Mr. Speaker, may I, with your permission, quote at page 38 of the article as contained in the report, particularly paragraph 5 entitled CSR and the Law, the Aftermath of Corporate Social Responsibility Violations. Mr. Speaker, the two academics have this to say. They say a critical examination of both legislation and judicial precedents in Ghana seems to suggest that even though the law makes provision for the imposition of a fine or a term of imprisonment in the event of a violation of the organization's responsibilities or liabilities, in certain instances, most regulatory enforcement agencies as well as the courts, more often than not, are disposed to imposing a fine. Mr. Speaker, they further went on to say this at page 39 of the same article. They say that over the decade, corporate social responsibility has shifted from voluntary practice to a more obligatory-oriented practice influenced by public policy and law. As the presence of law and its enforcement can play a critical role in the corporate social responsibility. Mr. Speaker, the motion before the House, therefore, is properly anchored in law. It's opportune. Mr. Speaker, we have seen so many reports that have come to this House of state institutions that will indicate that they have spent millions in corporate social responsibilities without clearly an indication as to whether or not those projects have been duly completed. Mr. Speaker, with these words, therefore, I want to urge the House that the motion before the House be proved so that we will seize the opportunity to pass the appropriate and relevant legislation to govern and give guidelines to corporate institutions in this country in this area of corporate activities. I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, honorable members, the mover of the motion and the seconder of the motion have spoken to it. It is for the consideration of the House. So, honorable member for Doma East.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I thank you for the opportunity to support this motion that this Honorable House passes a law to mainstream and streamline corporate social responsibility in Ghana to ensure cogent, equitable, and sustainable national development. Right Honorable Speaker, let me commend the mover of the motion and also say that it has come timely. Indeed, across the globe, all countries are now finding ways and means to streamline corporate social responsibilities into their main businesses. And it has become a public policy, especially within the middle and the low income countries. Right Honorable Speaker, benefit of CSR has been espoused by the mover, and I don't need to say much about that. And I strongly believe that Ghana stands to benefit a lot when the CSR is appropriately legislated. The Speaker, the Act 2006, the Companies Act 2006, indeed has been expanded to ensure that the CSR activities for the publicly listed companies are captured. And this is for them to be able to ensure how these companies support the various communities that these corporations do operate. Mr. Speaker, the European Union Parliament on January March 2007, and if you leave, Mr. Speaker, let me read that. The European Union Parliament adopted a resolution on CSR in which it expressed the view that increasing social and environmental responsibility by business linked to the principle of corporate accountability represents an essential element of the European social model. This was at the EU Parliament on the 13th of March 2007. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, clearly, Mr. Speaker, it is time that Ghana as a country, we also find the appropriate law to be able to align these CSR activities to the development of our country. Indeed, recently I had an interview with the Daily Graphic, and my issue was, why won't government and corporate entities sit so that they can align their CSR activities to their developmental projects? Mr. Speaker, during this COVID time, it became evident that what most communities or both of institutions needed were health materials. But you can hear or you can read from papers that certain companies were even trying to present computers. For us, when government was struggling to buy consumables for hospitals, clearly, Mr. Speaker, if we really find appropriate laws for corporate social responsibility in our country, it will go a long way to enhance government, to be able to release, if you have resources, to enable it to do other activities, that other companies will also do other things otherwise. Mr. Speaker, in Australia, 2006, they set up a high-level committee to look through how CSR can benefit the economy. And indeed, it came out that they need CSR to help develop their economy and their certain communities as well. The Spanish Parliamentary Subcommittee also did the same. And they also came up with findings that they needed those companies to be able to align their corporate activities to the government's development agenda. Indeed, it is about time that Ghana will also find ourselves in that domain. We must align our CSR activities to government projects. And we can only do this, Mr. Speaker, if we legislate it appropriately. Indeed, the United States of America at a point came up with the Surveillance Auxiliary Act, that's the SOX Act, which find a way of regulating the corporate governance and indeed appropriate accountability of CSR in the United States of America. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude with a statement from Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat, 2005 book. And I read, Mr. Speaker, with your leave. In the flat world, with lengthy global supply chain, the balance of power between global companies and the individual communities in which they operate is tilting more and more in favor of the companies. As such, these companies are going to command more power, not only to create value, but also to transmit values than any other institution on the planet. The Speaker, clearly, what does it mean? It means that if we are not able to manage corporate CSR activities, clearly in their communities, they are gaining powers. And at a time, a time will come that we may not be able to control their dominance in these communities. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to thank the mover of the motion and urge this House to support this motion with full heart and full conscience. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member for Efutu Senior West.
Awutu Senior West.
Yes.
Awutu. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I also move to support the motion that the House passes a law to mainstream and streamline corporate social responsibility in Ghana to ensure a cogent, equitable, and sustainable national development. Mr. Speaker, incidentally, what is corporate social responsibility? Basically, it says that businesses should be good citizens. The same way that we expect that citizens should be good citizens and have a sense of responsibility to each other. Businesses can be good citizens and have that sense of responsibility to the companies to the communities within which they exist or have any special relationship with. But sometimes there has to be a bit more structure to this. And why do we say that? As it stands in Ghana today, people feel that corporate social responsibility means giving out handouts. Let me do a little bit of this, drop one borehole here and drop something else here. But at some point, there could be a bit more coordination and compliance to it. It helps better, even the corporate world. So we must incorporate social and environmental concerns and considerations into the practice. It's already being done, but it needs a structure. Thereby, it should be able to make the necessary impacts that are desired. There should also be blueprints. Businesses can incorporate CSR strategies into their corporate goals so that there's synergy, the right synergy, and that there will be benefits to all. As it has a structure, there should also be stakeholder engagement. After all, businesses are situated in communities And there are lots of stakeholders that need to be consulted. Otherwise, a company might end up thinking that what they consider as an element of corporate social responsibility is not exactly what the community needs. And there must be that harmony and that synchronization to get that right. Hence, the stakeholder engagement is very key. You cannot operate as a company as an island. Furthermore, the synchronization is key. If you recall, before the motorway roundabout project was, I would say, reconstructed, MPS undertook what they call a corporate social responsibility. And they had some slip roads at the Tamamoto roundabout, which was meant to ease the traffic situation over there. Within no time, the contract was awarded by Ghana Highways Authority, and they demolished and literally peeled off every single millimeter of asphalt that was laid by MPS. And that was their corporate social responsibility. The question is, what were the benefits that they got from that? And it was so, if anything, for the community in which that road was constructed, it was very short-lived. And then it came back to inconvenience all the motorway users because construction had to start all over again. And that was a waste of resources. There's also the story of in mining areas, whereby a mining company is trying to dispose of its tailings and all the waste. On the other hand, the community needs, for example, a football park, but they don't have the space. Can they fill, say, a rubbish dump with the waste from the mining company? Now that is sustainable corporate, that is the sustainable way and the method of showing corporate social responsibility. That becomes a win-win for all. The company is able to dispose of its waste, not having to go so far out, but then it can also use to fill the place and the community and use the equipment to level it, and then the community are able to get a football park that they also desire. So it's important that the win-win situation for all is emphasized. Now, it is also possible that perhaps there can be rankings. After all, not all companies are equal. All their balance sheets are also not equal. So there can be rankings in what the size of companies are expected to do and their output and their compliance with CSR. So, for example, a smaller company with obviously a much smaller balance sheet would do something small, maybe one borehole or whatever measurement that is required. All these things will have to be clear and stated so that all the companies see the good in what we are trying to propose. It is good that there are trade-offs between the financial health and the ethics. Being a good corporate citizen is ethical. And so this can also promote competitiveness. Maybe perhaps we're having a tier system or even a corporate social responsibility league table. All those can be proposed in the new law that all those can be impacted in the new law that we are proposing. It is very important that we are good corporate citizens. It helps in a company's reputation, so that sometimes even if there's some negative news that is going on, at least everybody knows that they do good. And that would also help them. I think that there are other aspects that my colleagues will also be debating on, but for now, I'll sum it up in saying that the world, there are still good people out there, there are still good companies out there, but they must do things with a bit more structure, a bit more compliance, a bit more discipline, and together we'll be able to make Ghana a much better place. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before I come to leadership.
Mr. Speaker, I was going to urge that given where we are, it appears so many other people want to express interest in this and make submissions. And accordingly, I wanted to apply to you to adjourn proceedings for us to continue on this very important subject matter tomorrow. So it's just an appeal that I want to make on behalf of colleagues, because it's almost 8 o'clock now. And we can take an adjournment and tomorrow allow the number of people who are showing interest in this subject matter to make their own submissions.
Very well. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the rendition by the leader of the House. Just to add that with matters of this nature and the interest members have to contribute. If leader can discuss with Mr. Speaker, so that if we have to sit tomorrow, the second deputy speaker can come first, then we sit at 10. Then we debate this motion thoroughly so that the media can carry it. Then corporate world will call their members and make input. Because this is a very sensitive motion. And if you discuss it without the media or without broadcasting it very well and taking input from the corporate world, Mr. Speaker, we may be doing a good work, but maybe, excuse me for my word, in the wrong way. Because you are legislating for people to follow, or you are planning to introduce legislation. The Speaker, it must be all hands on deck. I remember I attended some course where we were told that when you are in the Parliament House, you are in the chamber debating, you have to peep through the window and feel the heat outside and take sense from that. So, leader, I support your stand and just want to urge you so that you discuss with the Speaker. If we can sit early, well, today we start around 11. We've done a lot of good business, and it is now 8 o'clock. So if you want to move for adjournment so that we have more energy to come tomorrow and continue. And also to urge my colleagues who want to debate that this motion and the Hansard is going to be a research document, because the House is going to be measured by the kind of debate that takes place here. So as you go, leader is saying that will continue tomorrow. Those who have interest, then don't just go and discuss with your colleagues, go and do your research, call your friends, so that tomorrow when you come, you can help reach or enrich the debate in the House. With that, leader, Mr. Speaker, I support the position of the leader. It's past 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, so we are in your hands.
So tomorrow, when are you coming tomorrow, leader?
The speakers will agreed. We are commencing sitting at 11 tomorrow. And let's be timeless. Today we had to go into a joint caucus, and that took some while. I guess if we sit at 11, we'll be able, and we have to maybe adjourn at 8 as we're doing today, we'll be able to cover a lot of grounds. A lot of motions that are outstanding that we couldn't deal with today. Let's sit at 11 sharp tomorrow, and I believe we'll be able to cover much grounds. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Accordingly, I move that we take an adjournment until 11 o'clock in the forenoon tomorrow. I so move.
Mr. Speaker, once it has been moved, I support them. I second the motion for adjournment.
Honorable members, the time is 8 o'clock. So you spend more than 4 hours here. I'll go ahead to adjourn the House to tomorrow, the 28th of July 2021. And we are coming here at 11 o'clock in the forenoon. The House is accordingly adjourned.